Ahora sí, tell me un poquito más. Hola, I'm Kim.
And I'm Cindy Gaxiola.
And this is our podcast, Tell Me Un Poquito Más.
Season 4.
You already know, Season 4.
And in today's episode, we have a very special guest. She is a Latina content creator, business owner, and one of my personal favorite people to follow on social media because she be coming with all the fit inspo. She be coming with all the makeup inspo. And she motivates us to get our butts up and work out.
You know we need that, right?
We need that. We have Ms. Gabriela Bandy. Welcome.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be chatting with you guys today.
We're super excited to have you because you have such an impactful story. You really do. We're going to talk about a lot of...
Don't make me cry. We just started.
You're going to cry. We want to see the tears. Because, no, I mean, we're going to talk about everything. You're very successful. You have a lot going for yourself. But we want to take it back. We're going to talk about building your self-confidence, all of that.
To not let fear stop you.
Not let fear stop you, all of those things. But we want to take it back to part of the beginning of your story and journey about coming into the U.S.
Coming
from
to America.
Honduras, coming to America from Honduras at 11 years old. You were 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that's a lot. That's a lot for an 11-year-old. Did you know what was happening? How did your family break that down for you? Like, we're going to how was that?
I definitely did not understand what we were doing. Like, I thought, first of all, when you live in a country like Honduras, you think of the United States as like Disney World. Like,
wow.
you're like, this is like the dream. So one of the reasons we came here was because we have an uncle here, my mom's brother, who would visit us often. And like, he would always just tell us all about like what it was like living here. So one of my dreams was like, one day I'm gonna go to the United States and I'm gonna go to Disney World. Like, I really wanted to do that. And I think, like, you know, our parents, they try so hard not to tell us like all the ugliness of real life.
Yeah.
So, you know, they kind of just told us, you know, they spoke to us and said that we were gonna move here. And I mean, I was 11, so I didn't really know, like...
You didn't think much of it.
Yeah, and it's not like I had any objections, really. I was just kind of like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get to go to Disney World.
Yeah.
So I had no idea, really. Like, I was just like, okay, well, we're going to change where we live, and that's it. I had never done it before, so I had no experience. But then, like, when we actually did go through it, I was like, oh, shit, this was not
what you expected.
what I was expecting, yeah.
What did you go through? What?
So I did know that we were going to come here illegally. I didn't really understand what that even meant, really, because, I mean, I was 11.
You're 11, yeah.
But I overheard conversations with El Coyote and, like, my parents. And when we lived in Honduras, like, I lived a pretty good, like, childhood. So my parents, like, they both are business owners. And they were like, you know, we want to pay extra to make sure that we are as comfortable as we can possibly be through the whole journey. And they decided that all the girls should leave first because I only had at the time, like, my older brother, Junior, and then my little brother, he was only, like, not even a year old. He was like a couple months. So then they were like, hey, all the girls should leave because I guess there were still a couple things that they needed to do, like sell the house and things like that. And El Coyote, they have like certain dates where they leave. So they wanted to take advantage of like the next date that they were going to have a trip. But anyway, El Coyote basically painted this picture of like, oh, you're mostly going to be in a car. We're going to get them a Mercedes. They're going to be like comfortable, you know. They're only gonna have to not be in a car until we get to Mexico and they have to like cross the river and shit, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm like, all right, cool, everybody's great, but it was not like that at all. If anything, it was like so far-fetched from that. We did drive in a car for like 2 days, and I think they did that to like show my dad, like, oh, look, we did get the Mercedes and they are gonna be in this car. But after that, like, it was like a lot of walking, and honestly, like, the entire journey took a whole month to come here. And there's like so much that happened that I'm like, it's very hard to like have a conversation about it because there's so many ways and like so many things that I can talk about. But it was like really hard. It was basically like all the stories you hear of like, you know, shit happening through the journey, like where girls get sexually assaulted, or you know, you get robbed, or even you die, right? So it's like all of that shit. Like I lived that, and thankfully it was all of my sisters and my mom. So I was a child at the time, and I felt protected, but when I think back at it, I was like, that was actually really fucked up. And it's crazy how like we kind of shove that down and we kind of unpack it as we're older.
At what point you realize like, oh shoot, like I went through that? Like at what point in your life now that you were older?
I think it was when I was graduating from high school. I was dating my current boyfriend. His name is Ryan. And I think like I was definitely a late bloomer. I was like totally focused in school, and I was hyper fixated on the idea of going to college and, you know, doing the thing that they tell you that you're supposed to do. So when I graduated college, when I graduated from high school and I was entering college, that's when like shit hit the fan, because I was basically taking college classes in high school, so I was like already used to the idea of like college is what I'm doing. But then when you graduate, you have to actually, you know, apply to college and like go and whatever. And that's when I learned that, you know, you couldn't go if you didn't have papers, and if you did want to go, you were gonna have to pay out of pocket, and you were gonna pay out of state fees as well, and you have to pay everything up front. Like there no loans, no nothing, no scholarships. And it was very heartbreaking for me because if you can ask anyone, like I was so focused in school. Like my life was school, sports, extracurricular activities. Like I did everything that you're supposed to do in the books. Like I was a straight A student, honor roll, like advanced everything. Like, so when I was graduating, I was like, I'm good. Like I'm for sure gonna get a full ride to literally any college I want to go to. But then obviously that was not the case. And it was just kind of like that hard reality that I needed to face. Like basically all the effects of that part of my life were taking place then. And I had to understand that this was my new reality, and I was not gonna, that path that I had in my mind was no longer an option, basically.
Wow, and that takes courage.
It was really hard. I think that was probably like the first time that I was like really depressed, because I understood like what the fuck I went through and what this meant. And I remember like in school, I never told anyone that I was illegal or indocumentada. People don't like when I say illegal, right? But I never told anyone that I was indocumentada, because that was such a negative thing back then. I think like if you told anyone, they would look at you like you're the fucking weirdo. So I kind of started opening up about it a little bit more then, but I could not like hold a conversation without crying. And the first person I started doing that with was my boyfriend, Ryan.
Wow. And what was so once you graduate high school, you're like, oh shoot, well, I can't go to college. Like, what was that for you? Like, what did you say? Like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work on this.
Fuck no. No way. I was like,
were you ready to give up? Like what?
Yeah, I was like, my life is over. I really thought like, I was extremely sad. I was always crying. Wow. I would like talk to my mom and my brother-in-law. I remember I used to have a lot of conversations with my brother-in-law about it, and I would just be like, I just don't know what I'm doing. Like I thought I was doing all the things right. And I think that's something about me, like ever since I was a little girl, like I've always done what I think is the right thing to do. I don't really know where I got that from, but I just know that I've always wanted to be like the fucking good girl, like the goody girl. That was me. So I was just kind of like, I did everything I was supposed to do, and then now it's like the world is against me almost. So I was very sad about it, and I didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do. To be honest, like I was like, I'm gonna be nobody when I grow up. Like I thought that was it, you know. But I think my parents, they always just advised me to take it day by day, and they would explain to me like, right now this is so huge to you, but down the line, like you're gonna find your path and you're gonna find the way. That's why like I have that on my Instagram bio, because it's like creating my own path, because I feel like in everything that I've wanted to do, there's always been a reason why I can't do it. There's always been like that barrier. It's like, oh, you're not thin enough, or you're not like this enough, or whatever the fuck. So I feel like now I have such a mentality, because I went through that big, I wouldn't say like block, but you know, it's just like a big ass mountain, right? Of like, this is what it is. Then now I feel like there's fucking nothing that can stop me, you know?
Yeah. I mean, hey, all of that led you to who you are now.
Yeah. Exactly.
At what point, because I'm sure you never thought you were going to be a content creator, right?
No, I mean, that wasn't even a thing. Like, that didn't even exist back then. It was after, so me and my current boyfriend, we broke up like when I was like 20, I think. So I think that period, I was alone for like a good 4 years. And I think that was like my big growing stage. Like, through that, I don't know, just something in me was like, I'm gonna do this. And I had a lot of goals, and I didn't know how the fuck I was gonna do them, but I was like, I'm gonna find a way. And this was when social media was just starting, and I happened to know a couple of people that were doing it. So I think when the whole influencer thing started, I remember very clearly, I lived in Miami, and there was this like group of like Viners here in LA. And I mean, we know all of them, right? Like Leanne and Tonio and all these people. And I was friends with Tonio, so I would see him come to LA and like get with all these people, and I saw that they were doing like really dope shit. And so I was like, this is gonna be the next thing. I didn't really understand what that was gonna be, but I was like, content creation was going to be the next thing, because I was seeing the amazing things that were happening to these people. Right. And the good thing about me is that I've never been the type to look at something and question like, why are people doing this? Because like, I see that it's fucking working. So I'm like, I don't give a fuck if it's cringy. I'm gonna do it. Right. And you guys are gonna regret not doing it later.
Y'all can see me live my fabulous life.
Y'all
judging.
So I don't know. There was just a point where, you know, I worked a lot of jobs. I feel like every time I have a conversation about things, like I'll be like, oh yeah, I used to work here. My friends are like, bitch, you've had every job in the book.
You were like Barbie.
I'm like, yes, I've worked every fucking job. Like, even a mechanic shop, okay? I worked at a mechanic shop. Yeah, so I've had a lot of different jobs. And I think, like, that's why you have that journey. Because if I didn't have all those jobs, I wouldn't have known that I fucking hated working for people. I just knew, like, that was my common denominator. I was like, I came to a conclusion that I don't want to work for anyone. Wow. Because it just didn't feed my soul. Yeah. I was just doing it because I had to. So anyways, it just happened to come where there was one time where my friend, I guess like one of her roommates were moving out, and she like offered if I wanted to take it. And I was like, oh shit, should I move to LA? But I was like 22, maybe 23. And I had never lived on my own, first of all. But I don't know what took over me.
You were living in...
I was living with my parents.
Okay.
In Miami.
In Miami. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was something else about me is that I'm very impulsive. Like if I say I'm gonna do something and I want to do it, I don't overthink it. I just fucking do it. So I was like, I'm moving to LA, and I know I'm gonna do it. First of all, I didn't even have money. Okay, I didn't have money. Oh my! I did not have money at all. Not even $1,000. I was broke. But I had a friend that she actually used to manage me when I lived in Miami, because I did a little bit of modeling, and she had moved to San Andreas, and they had opened like a dispensary out there. And she told me like, hey, if you want, you can come to San Andreas, stay with me for a couple weeks, and you can trim weed. And if you help us trim, like they give you like $150 like per pound of weed that you trim. First of all, I don't even know what the fuck that meant. Okay. She's like, you just take scissors and you cut the leaves. I'm like, okay, whatever.
I can do that.
I'm getting paid.
Yeah, I'm like, honestly, I trusted her because I still do because she's like one of my closest friends. So I was like, you know what? She told me to do this. I'm going. And also, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have money. So I was like, okay, that was my plan. I brought all my stuff with me. I had 2 luggages. That's it. And then I went to her house. And then for like 3 or 4 weeks, I just trimmed and I saved like $3,000 or $4,000. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm thinking like
I could survive in LA with this.
Yeah, I'm like 3,000. Yeah, we're good.
I'm rich.
Yeah, it is what it is. So then I actually got here, and that girl that had offered me the room, she had like a whole other person move in and didn't even tell me.
No.
Yeah.
What?
So where'd you live?
And you had
So she told me like before I came, like it was like a week before, but I was already like all my shit was with me.
Yeah.
And I had already had multiple conversations with my parents, like in a table.
Yeah, you were already
They
moved.
gave me the Hollywood talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
don't trust if something is too good
I
to
was
be
gonna
true.
ask you that how your parents took it.
Oh no, they were like having conversations with me every day. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? And I was like, yes, I got it all figured out. I'll be okay. Like, I'm smart. Like, I would get pissed. Like, what do you think? I don't know what I'm doing. So anyway, once I got here, I had to like call Tonio, and I was like, dude, I'm nowhere to sleep. And he was like, well, you can crash in my apartment. He's like, I have like he had like a 3-bedroom. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I show up at his apartment like fucking 12 at night. And he has like 5 dudes in there. He has like all these dudes from like Wild 'N Out like staying with him. And I'm like, I cannot stay here.
What the hell is going on?
Yeah, I was like, I can't stay here with all these guys. Like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
So I hit up my only friend that I had at the time. Like, she was the first girl I met, Evelyn. And I'm like, hi, I'm in LA. Can I go sleep at your house?
What time was this?
No, late. It was like 1 a.m.
Yeah, after you went to
Yeah, but I guess in that time she had gotten a boyfriend, so she's like, oh, and she had a studio with like, you know, studios don't have like the doors.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, well, the thing is, I have a boyfriend now. He lives with me. I'm like, oh my god. And she's like, oh yeah, but he's out right now. Like, he's gonna come really late. Just come. And I'm like, well, what kind of late is he gonna come? You know, he comes home like at 6. I'm like, the fuck does your boyfriend do?
What is he? First of all.
Right. But I'm like, all right, whatever. At this point, like, I prefer that than being there.
with 5 other guys.
Yeah. So I go to her house and I crash in her couch. And then I wake up at like 6 a.m. and her and her boyfriend are in bed. And there's no door, so I can see them. And I mean, they're not doing anything. They're just sleeping.
But like, still, for you, it's like...
It was so like, I felt like I was invading their space.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I can't do this. I was like, Gabby, you got a little money, like find an Airbnb right now. I found an Airbnb for a week. And I said to myself, you have a week to figure this shit out or you're going back. Yeah.
Oh.
It was really hard.
Oh my God.
So
what happened in this week?
I like woke up like at 6 a.m. I woke up because I just couldn't take a second longer.
You couldn't waste literally.
So I just said bye to her. I was like, thank you so much. Like, I love you, whatever. And then I went to the Airbnb. I was there for a couple of days. And I don't know, but like God is always looking out for me because that week I had like 3 or 4 jobs like just land on my lap. And they were just like cold emails from like people that found me on Instagram. And they were like pretty well paid. Like they were like $2,000 to like go do a music video for like 2 hours. So I was like, oh, this is good. Like I'm doing this shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, things are looking up. And then one of Evelyn's friends actually had a room that she was renting in a house like in West Hollywood. And I was like, I'll take it. I didn't even ask how much it was. I was like, yes. And I lived there for like a whole year. But it was like just like a little room. But the good thing is that it was a house and I had 2 guy roommates.
Okay.
That initially, I guess, like 3 of them were going to move there and one of them bailed. So they were looking for that 3rd person to like complete the rent. So I got there and I was basically like new girl, like the show. I'm here rooming with like 2 guys that I've never met. But they were so cool. And like, we actually became really cool friends. So it all worked out at the end.
I mean, that's so dope that you went through it. You went through so much and yet you were like, I'm going to figure it out. And you figured it out.
I'm not going to lie. I was a little scared. Like sometimes in the middle of the night, I would wake up And you know when you're like that, like drowsy, like and
Yeah.
you're very emotional.
Oh yeah.
So I had like that drowsy, like I woke up and then I looked around and I was in like some stranger's house.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And I just like would start crying, like, oh my God, I just want to call my mom. I just want to call my dad.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? But I refused to call them. I refused to call them because I knew that they were going to be like,
Come
come
back.
back home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just didn't.
So you didn't tell them what you were?
No, they actually don't fucking know this.
Unless they hear this.
Well,
Yeah, I didn't tell. I never told them because I just didn't want to worry them and I wanted them to trust me. So I knew I was
Yeah.
gonna have to handle it. So,
Right.
Yeah.
so how do you not let fear get in the way? Because I feel like, shoot, I don't know. Like a lot of people could just give up and throw in the towel and be like, because you were good with your parents, you know, that's comfortable. That was nice.
It was, but I knew that deep down I wasn't happy because I know that I wanted something for myself. So it's kind of like, for me, it's like, do I want to just settle and be here? But the thing is that I couldn't. And that's the reason why I do everything that I do, is because I always reach a point where I'm not happy. And no matter how like people might think like, oh, you're very successful, you're done this and done that. Like every couple months, I go through that little period of time where I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm not doing anything revolutionary. Like I'm not changing, I'm not impacting. And so I like, I don't know, it's kind of like a soul thing. Like my soul just wants to do more. So I knew I was really unhappy in Miami. I had nothing going for me. And I wanted to give myself the chance to do something that would challenge me. And dude, like, within that year, it was like God just proved to me that I made the right decision, because within the year, I was doing so much. Just that 1 year of being here in LA by myself on my own, like fully focused in work. And I think that's why I always recommend people, like, if you want to ever move to LA for work, like do it. But don't come here like expecting to make friends and build a family. Like, no, bitch, come here to hustle and work and focus on that, and then you can go back to your hometown and like, you know, come back already like with your career. Because I feel like anytime I come to LA, that's all I pretty much do is really work.
Right.
I was gonna say, we just have to be willing to take that risk, because at the end of the day, it's a risk that you took.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that there's not really like a secret formula. It's not less scary for me than other people. I think it's just that you have to, if you really want it deep down, you just have to take the risk of saying, I'm going to do this and see what happens rather than not. And I'm the kind of person that if I didn't do something because I was afraid, I just feel like a failure. And I think that's it's not really like a good thing to think, but I think like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, bitch,
what do you lose?
what the
time?
fuck?
Like, yeah, it's like they say you fail every shot you don't take.
Yeah. And I think it's really because I think it's really just in the mentality, because a lot of people, they just think, well, this is just kind of like my life. This is what I was meant to do. Like, I don't think I'm meant to do all those things. And they think that they're so far from people that are doing amazing things. But like, those people were in that same position. And it's all about like saying, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll say, like, right now, I feel like I want to do new things and I don't know how the fuck to do them.
Yeah.
And sometimes I still experience that same fear that we're talking about, because it's something new that I've never done before. But I'm like, the thought of not doing it kills me even more.
Yeah.
So I just have to do it. And like, whatever, who cares? Like, what's the worst that can happen? You fail? Okay, I failed, but I tried.
But at least you tried.
Or you might even fail and be like, okay, but now I think I know how to do it. And you do it again, and then you succeed.
Or even failure takes you on another path that you didn't even know was there.
Exactly. It's all about doing it.
No, I agree.
Take the leap.
I feel like the fear is going to be there. The fear is going to be there. If you're trying to do something new, if you're trying to go into, I mean, we're human. Like, we're going to be scared.
Yeah. It's just, it's kind of like breakups, right? When you go through a breakup, people try to avoid the pain because it's so different. And they're like, this must not be the right thing because it hurts a lot.
Right.
But in reality, it's because life is throwing you in a different path that you're not used to. So anytime that you do something that you're not used to, it's different. So it's going to feel weird. It's going to be like scary. But those are the things that are worth doing. Those are that's where like the best shit happens, is when you're like extremely challenged, vulnerable, and you say I'm gonna do it anyway, and then you look back and you're like, damn, that was fucking awesome.
Dang, yeah.
And I think one of the things that I love about you is that I think sometimes part of what can make us feel afraid of taking a risk or like jumping into something is because we feel like we're tied to that. But we can evolve, and I feel like we've seen that with you. You originally started more in fitness, and at the time that was something that you were passionate about, but we've seen you grow on a personal level, seen your content grow, and now you're focused, I don't know if, I mean, I guess you could say more on like fashion, makeup, and you're not boxing yourself into where you started.
Yeah. And honestly, that was something I struggled a lot with in the beginning, because people always try to box me. They always try to say, well, you just need to pick something. Like, you can't do too many different things. Because my content was always different. It was never only workouts. And I think because people kept saying that, I was like, okay, let me like focus on the workouts and do that. And then eventually, like, that's why I burned out. And I was like, honestly, I don't even want to do this anymore. Because it just, like, the one thing that I had fun doing now became like a job.
That's right.
And now I think I'm just in a place where I want to do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, it always does well for me, and it makes me feel good doing it. And I've never done something where people have been like, what the fuck is this? We've never done this. Like, no. People are always like, oh, now I learned something new about you. So never put yourself in a box, for
and
sure.
even if people did say that, you, like you said, you feel like your soul is in a good place. So people can think that, people could feel that, but
because they were not the right people. I'll say, like, on Instagram, I was mainly followed by guys. And when I started posting a lot of beauty stuff, they were kind of like, I had the fucking guys that were like, post your ass, and like, why aren't you doing this? And like, stop posting whatever, you know, like the misogynistic comments. Yeah. And I was just block, because I'm like, those aren't even the people I want following me. So, and now I mainly have girls. Okay. So you see where it's like, sometimes the people that are receiving it won't take it well, but then the people that are meant to follow you and like your content or your business, they'll eventually start aligning with you, and then you'll have like a good like base of people that understand exactly what you're doing.
Exactly.
So I want to take it back, because you said you on your journey of coming to the US, you experienced a lot that you later realized when you were older that you had to still unpack. I want to talk about the unpacking of it. Did you ever seek, and maybe it wasn't at that time, but at any point in your life, did you ever seek professional help, like therapy or anything?
Yeah, so I started doing therapy, I would say 3 years ago, and I'm still doing it. I don't think that I ever went to therapy because I was dealing with that story specifically. It actually came out through my relationship, because I was having a lot of problems with my boyfriend. Like, we were just butting heads a lot. And I was like, you're the problem. You know
I'm perfect, honey.
I know what I'm doing. And I mean, like, there were parts where, yes, like, our dynamic is different, because I'm the type of person that wants to sit down, communicate, get down to business. And he's like more of the avoidant style. So I was kind of resenting that. And I was like, hey, let me do some therapy, because I got to a point where I was like on the verge of like ending the relationship, because I was like,
wait, hold on. You said you wanted to do therapy for your relationship?
Yes.
You told him?
Yes. At first I started doing it by myself.
Okay.
Because I got to the point where I wanted to end my relationship, but I wasn't doing it. And I was in this really weird space where I was like, am I supposed to break up with him or not? Because I felt like I was supposed to, but then I was very hurt about the thought of doing it. So I couldn't really trust my decision making. I couldn't just make a decision, basically. So I started doing therapy.
Wow.
And the reason I'm talking about all of that is because I started to learn that the way I grew up, it's always been very chaotic. And I got very used to living in chaos. And I was bringing that into my relationship, because my boyfriend is the opposite of chaos. He is very calm. His whole family is very chill. I mean, there's a huge difference in the dynamic of his family and mine. So I think that I was sabotaging the relationship because I wanted to find things that were wrong because we weren't constantly fighting. And all of that has to do with like me coming here and just the whole dynamic of growing up in Honduras and what relationships look like over there. And just what relationships look like in the Hispanic community, I think. They can be very chaotic. And I mean, I think back to like things that I lived and I'm like, that should have never happened. And so I had to kind of go through that and learn that I can slow down and that things don't have to be bad before they're good, you know? And then eventually we ended up doing it together. But I try to unpack a little bit of that in therapy, but I feel like I still haven't quite got there.
I love two things that you said. One is that you went to therapy because I think I know you said like you're the problem, but when we point the finger, we also say you need therapy, go see a therapist. And you're like, wait a second, like let me go see a therapist and see where you decide to take it from there. And I think you also said something else that I love, and that is things don't have to get bad in order for them to be good. Ooh, and I think that that's so powerful because I think even like in breaking up with someone or leaving a relationship, we think that in order to do that, things have to hit the fan, things have to be at a certain place. And it's like, no, you could put the effort before then for things to be good.
Exactly.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm inspired. Thank you. I mean, I am going to therapy, but shoot, I'm like, I got some work to do, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and other things I would say too that come up a lot for me specifically is like the imposter syndrome, which kind of goes with everything that we've been talking about. Because I think that a lot of people, they might believe in themselves and want to do something, but they have that imposter syndrome that is like, you can never do that. And like, you're not doing enough, or like, really? Like, why you? And as much as like I can say that I'm like, I think I'm very fearless and I take risks and I do things that scare me. At the same time, I think my journey didn't happen overnight. It definitely took time, and it's still taking time because every couple months, like I hit that spot where I'm like going through something. I get very emotional a lot, like almost every month. And I don't know. I think sometimes it's like your body is like telling you something, and it's just kind of like talking to that inner child again, right? And I think I have to deal with that all the time, where I feel like I'm not good enough. I'm not doing the right things. I'm not doing enough. And just constantly like judging myself because I still sometimes feel like when I was 16 and I was crying because I felt like I wasn't going to be anyone. So I think it's not something that's ever going to leave my spirit. Like I'm always going to remember that person. And I think that deep down, it's always going to be there. So I always have to kind of have a talk with myself and remember, like, you have achieved this and you have done this. And even just in like, I struggle sometimes to celebrate the things that I achieve because I don't know, like I see other people doing bigger things. So I'm like, I'm not doing that yet, you know? So yeah, still a lot to, it's a journey. I don't think it's ever going to stop.
No, and I definitely think it's a journey because I feel like a lot of the times we could very much like we're not perfect. Like it's not always gonna be butterflies and clouds. Like we're gonna have those moments, like you said, you have your moment where you look back and you're like, it's what you live through, but you react to it. Like you talk to yourself, you talk to your inner self, so you won't be able to stay there. So I mean, I think we're human. Like we're gonna go through moments like that, but as long as we're able to react to it, I think.
And I just want to say I appreciate your transparency because I think that's so important, because I think when we're going through that, we feel like we're alone. I'm sure there's so many people that are on the other side of this screen that are probably having those thoughts, that are probably having those feelings, and they're like, shoot, I'm here. But they can look at someone like you where you're being very honest, like, yeah, you've accomplished so much for yourself. We can look at you and you're a beautiful woman that's successful, but you're still human, and you still deal with those things. So thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being transparent. And thank thank you for showing us that, shoot, we could be some badass women.
Yeah, we could.
We can. And I think, like, with that being said, just wanted to add just a little advice that I feel like I learned. I wouldn't say a little late, but I wish I learned that earlier, is that there's always a way. And I mean, I'm going to talk about this Variety interview that the Kardashians did recently. But Kourtney said something where she was like, don't take no for an answer. Like, you're just asking the wrong person, like, or something like that. I think I'm saying it wrong. Maybe you guys can look it up later. But I believe that, like, a lot of times you'll get told no, but it's just like you said, like, nobody's perfect, and there's no specific journey for anyone. Right. And there's always a fucking way, dude. Always a way. Like, never, ever, ever let anyone tell you, like, no, you can't achieve that because of this, or you can't do that because of that. Doesn't matter if you're short, tall, fat, skinny, brown, white. Like, it doesn't matter. You can find a way. Yeah. You can create your path, and you can do it, because there's been so many things that I've been told to the face no, and then, like, I've proved that person wrong, or somebody else was like, hey, actually you could do this, but you'll have to do it this way.
Right. You made it happen.
Yeah.
You made it happen.
You made it happen, and now we're here, and now you're inspiring all of us.
And now I'm in the living room with you guys, you know.
I love it. No, honestly, thank you so much. And then our Tell Me Un Poquito Más question is going to shift a little bit, because I don't think it's going to be a Tell Me Un Poquito Más question. It's going to be a little personal, but going off on what you said earlier, because now I'm just curious, because you said that you and your boyfriend were, you guys were together, and then you guys separated for 4 years.
Yes.
Right? I'm curious, like, how did you guys reconnect again?
Oh, shit.
It's the hot seat. It's the hot seat.
I love stories like that, because
I mean, I think, okay, so I'll just give you a little backstory of why we broke up. He actually broke up with me. Can you believe that?
How?
Yeah, he broke up with me. I mean, I was kind of in that, I explained how I was really sad, because, like, I was just working different jobs. So I will say I wasn't, like, my best self. And I mean, I was fucking, like, 17.
Yeah, you were young.
So I can't expect that from me, you know.
Course.
But we were, like, long distance for a little bit, like, towards the end. And he broke up with me, and that's when kind of, like, I changed a lot after my relationship. So when we got back together, I was a different person. But I actually called him. Yeah, I know. Like,
see, ladies, we could make
I told this to my brother, and he was like, "You're a fucking simp." But you know what?
Yeah, I am, and what?
The heart wants what it wants.
What? Wait, you guys weren't in contact at all? Like,
no, he dated, like, a whole other person right after me.
What?
Yeah, which honestly, I, like, not because I didn't want him to date that person, but, like, I wish he didn't, because I felt like I appreciated my time alone so much. I feel like everyone needs it.
Yeah.
Everyone needs, like, that good period of time where you're just single, focusing on yourself, because that's when I really discovered, like, myself and who I am and who I wanted to be. But yeah, I just one day, like, I was here in LA already, and I was kind of sad. And I wasn't sad, like, missing him or anything. I mean, a couple of years had gone by. But a friend of mine, like, I was speaking to her, and I was like, I really miss, like, the friendship that I had with him, because we really had a good friendship. And I miss, like, having that friend. Okay. And I didn't have, like, any close friend at the time that I could, like, really vent to. So my friend was like, hey, you should just give him a call, see how he's doing. And of course, I don't know what, like, I grew some balls that night. But I was like,
oh my God.
Not only did I call him, I FaceTimed him. Okay.
What?
Yeah.
So he was probably like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, he said that he was, like, super confused.
He answered?
No, yeah, he answered me.
He's like, is she drunk?
Yeah, like honestly, like I was just like, how are you? Like it had been a long time since we talked. And he was like, I'm good, like whatever, right? And him and his girlfriend had broken up. And he thinks I knew that, but I really fucking didn't. I did not.
Oh.
Because I genuinely was calling him like
to see how he was.
because I wanted to see like I wanted to just like talk to a friend.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I was in need. And nothing. I didn't really think of it after that. I was actually like talking to someone at the time. So then the next day he was like texting me, and then every day he was texting me, and I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Because I didn't want him to think that like I still liked him.
Okay.
Because you didn't.
Because I didn't. I was like talking to a whole other guy.
Yeah.
And he just like was texting me all the time, and he would call me, and I was like, oh my God. But I would still answer, and I would still like talk with him. And like nothing was happening with the other guy. It wasn't getting any serious. And I just like visited one day, and we saw each other, and he was like, I'm still in love with you. Like, yeah. And like, he just confessed his love. And he just said that like, he never stopped loving me, and that he was always like checking on me, and that he just didn't feel like the same way like with his last girl. I'm so sorry if you're listening. You are great.
Tápate los oídos. You didn't hear this part. It's okay.
And you know, like I took my time. Like I took a couple months to really think about whether I wanted to be back with him, because I'm like, I just moved to LA. Like, am I cutting out all a good roster right there?
Yeah.
I've been told that dating here is really bad.
Girl.
So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I did the right thing. And here we are.
We love to see that. Yay. Oh my gosh. See, we literally just did an episode about that. We said that if someone's meant to be in your life, they're going to come back into your life.
And honestly, I thought that when we first broke up, I'm like, I just feel like we're going to be together eventually. But I think I got to a point, like when he started dating someone else, I was like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
I gotta go find me a new man.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really just was focused on me and coming to LA and doing that. And I did not have any intentions of getting back with him.
Yeah.
But it just happened to happen. And
you called him, and then
he was like, I'm gonna be your husband.
I was like,
okay. One call.
I don't know. I don't got nobody telling me they want to be my husband. So
one call. You see, ladies, we gotta make the move too.
Yeah, honestly, if I didn't make the call, who knows if he would probably have lived with that.
So true. Oh, I love it. See, this was a good time. I knew it was a good one. No, but for real, Gabriela, thank you so much for this conversation. Again, I could speak for myself. I am truly inspired because you made it happen. You did not let fear stop you. You found a way, and you said, if a door tells you no, keep knocking. Like, don't let yourself
go to another door.
Yeah.
Or go to another door. Yeah. So honestly, thank you so much. I was motivated. I'm sure everyone else is motivated.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Guys,
And
I had a lot of fun.
Ladies, also I was gonna say, if you're hearing this, we invite you guys to go watch it so you could go see this like whole vibe over here. Look at the makeup, the hair. You already know. No, but for real, we are available on YouTube, so you guys could go watch it. We're available on all podcast platforms. And yeah, don't forget to like the video. And until next time, bye.
Bye.